Hello, everyone. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Lewis. Lewis is from England in the UK. So let's see what Lewis has to say. Enjoy the interview. Hello, Lewis. How are you?
I'm not too bad, William. Not too bad at all. How about yourself?
Very well. Thanks so much for taking the time this evening for the interview. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It was nice to be invited.
So tell me, how was your week so far?
It's been good. I'm constantly spinning a lot of plates, as is my nature.
I see.
Um, so yeah, progress in every area is always a good aim to aim for at the beginning of the week. And when you've made that progress by Friday, then it's a good feeling.
So tell me, what was the highlight of your week so far?
Highlight of my week so far. I think the highlight of my week. I'm in the middle of writing a book, and every time I make a little bit of progress on that, I feel positive. I feel good about it.
That's amazing. Can you talk a little bit about it or not? It's too soon to talk about it.
I can talk about it. It's nothing major.
Uh-huh.
At the minute, it is just concept.
I
However, the book will fall within the self-help category. I've done
Okay.
I've done a hell of a lot of soul searching over the past 8 years. Spent my own time in therapy and on my therapeutic journey in different therapies as well. So CBT, EDMR, psychedelic therapy, and it's taking lessons that I've learned that are positive and that work, and then also highlighting the traps and the pitfalls of the self-help industry, which is self-serving and a bit of an industrial complex where, for that extra £699, we will make your life perfect.
Right.
Yeah, so it's that's it falls within that category of calling that out ultimately.
Tell me where you're from, Lewis.
I'm from the north of England, just north of Manchester, from a,
Mm.
a cotton mill town called Burnley.
Ah, so tell me something interesting about your hometown.
It's it's a beautiful town. I mean, a lot of people, um, yeah, a lot of people like to speak bad about Burnley, and it does have its flaws, as does every town and every place. But the countryside and the areas of natural beauty that we have around here are unparalleled. We've got Pendle Hill, Townley Park, which is like a big country estate. It's
Mhm.
absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, Gawthorpe Hall, which is not too far from where I am at, which is another country estate. So
Wow.
it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful place to grow up and live.
And how far are you from Manchester City?
About 40 minutes.
Ah, so it's quite close then.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
quite close. And what do you do for work, for a living, Lewis?
I'm a podcast host. So as you can probably see behind me, that side,
Yes.
I host a podcast. I will refrain from using the full name, but the abbreviation is CTS. So yeah, that's my day job as well as um, I've got a couple of fingers in a couple of pies, doing other
Right.
things as well at this moment in time. So 2026 is going to be a fun year.
I see. So let's start the interview talking about your podcast. I was checking a little bit of your videos on social media, and of course, it's called "Cut the Shit" podcast.
Yeah. Yes.
So tell me, when was the idea behind? When you came up the idea to create your podcast?
So I've spoken about this on my podcast. So for those that are listening, forgive me, I'm going to tell the story again. But for those that haven't heard it before, this idea came about. I've been in construction for 17 years. That was my profession. I
Mhm.
enjoyed it. That's what I did. And it got to the point where you wake up in the morning and the feeling of dread or the feeling of misery of having to get up and go to work became a little bit unbearable. And I think there's a lot of people that'll probably be listening to this that'll feel the same way. They won't like the job, they won't like the colleagues, they won't like the boss, they won't like their pay. And they're wasting a good 50 to 70% of their life doing something that they don't like. And that was where I was heading. I was waking up not enjoying what I was doing, not enjoying going to work and doing the things that I used to love maybe 12 to 18 months previous. And so I stopped. I decided to knock it on the head, and ultimately I didn't have a plan.
Wow.
I didn't have and some people would call it stupid. I call it brave, I suppose. And I was in a sort of limbo with my life, and going through psychedelic therapy at the same time, which has massively helped me. And what happened what happened, me and my partner went for a meal, a date day on a Friday at a restaurant not too far from us. And I ended up having a conversation with a Muslim waiter that was with us for about 2 hours. And we were talking about Islam and Christianity and Catholicism. And I was learning a lot about his religion. He was learning a bit about my religion. And it was such a good conversation. It really lit a fire within me. And I remember coming out of that restaurant with my missus, and we got in the car, and I was like, that's something that lights a fire within me. There's something in it that I need to do something within that sphere of having those sorts of conversations with people. And ultimately, it didn't go straight to podcasting. What fell into my lap was a podcasting workshop, which was in, of all places, Peterborough, which is about 4.5 hours from where I am. So I decided on, I think it was a Monday, a dreary Monday, to get up at 4 a.m. and travel down to Peterborough to do this podcast workshop for the full day with a gentleman called Kane Barron. Really good guy. We still speak now. And it was eye-opening to the point where it became a viable option. It became something that was like, right, oh, well, this is doable. You know, there was all sorts of people doing different or had different ideas for podcasts. There was a gentleman that was, I'll never forget him. It was an Asian gentleman that had decided he wanted to start a podcast on traditional Chinese medicine for pain relief, just for GPs, which was like such a specific niche. It was unbelievable. I was like, oh my God, who's going to listen to that? And then I decided, I'll backtrack a little bit. Back before that podcast, after the restaurant encounter, I had, it was just after Putin had invaded Ukraine. And there was loads of talk about him pushing the big red button and nuclear scares. And with the way that my mind works, it kind of runs away with itself. And I ended up doing this session, which was a good 5-hour session. And the message that came through from the session and from the psychedelic element was put up or shut up. Stop fretting and stop moaning and whinging about a problem and do something about it, or shut up and just get on with your life. So I decided at that point to shut up. I decided not to do anything about it.
Uh-huh.
And then lo and behold, that's when I discovered this podcast workshop and so on. So it was almost like the universe had said, no, you're actually meant to put up here. I put that in your path because I want you to do something about it.
Amazing.
And that's where the name came from. So the name, cut the bleep, came from the fact that I listen to podcasts quite regularly. I listen to a lot of political commentators quite regularly. And with the political situation, as it seems at the minute globally, there's a lot of lip service. There's a lot of prepared speeches. There's a lot of prepared answers. There's a lot of prepared and pre-questioned questions. And it's always annoyed me where somebody asks somebody a question, they give an answer that isn't really an answer to that question, and then they move on. And I'm the one that seems to be screaming, saying, well, no, they didn't answer. Push them for an answer. You asked them a question, and all they've done is skirt around the issue. So the whole premise was straight talking. I want to speak to people that I find interesting. I want to get to the truth from an investigatory perspective, like an intrigue perspective. So able to interview people, off the top of my head, Dean Hall, he's a really interesting guy, beat cancer twice through natural remedies. He holds 2 world records for swimming the Willamette River, which is 184 miles. Forgive me, Dean, if I got that wrong, but it's 184 miles. And he did that whilst he had leukemia and lymphoma. After he'd finished, he'd been healed of leukemia within 2 weeks. Wow. Unbelievable. I wouldn't get to speak to somebody like that without this podcast. And I hope that anybody and that's the beauty, is anybody that has leukemia and thinks this is it, this is the end of all things. My own Nana, she passed away from leukemia. They might hear that podcast and think, well, no, this guy, it's not the end of it. And if it saves one person, then it's worth it. But from a purely selfish aspect, I get to speak to awesome people.
Oh my God, I love that, Lewis. I love the idea, and you're totally right. Sometimes it's great to see people. Actually, you mentioned something very interesting. That I totally agree, and I do on the show as well, because the questions are all here. I don't know which question is going to come up. And that's the magic of the show. People answer questions. You could say on the spot because you're not expecting, but at the same time as well, it's a genuine answer because, the question just came up for you. And sometimes I remember, I still sometimes when I invite random people, the same way as invited you, people go like, oh, can you send me the questions beforehand? And I said to them, I'm sorry, but if I do that first, it's not the magic of the show. You're going to lose the magic.
I get that.
Also, I'm not going to feel comfortable doing the interview as well, because I'm not going to be able to talk to someone as you are being sincere, or maybe, I like the genuine answers, flowing around between the connection we are having the interview. So I get your point. And I think that's the beauty of talking with people when they're not expecting something, or maybe a topic, as you say, we're expecting an answer, not just something that maybe was created or thought, you know what I mean? So I get your point. And I think, as you mentioned, as I know, your podcast is about people literally talking about, things that, might help other others as well. And I think that's the whole idea as well. Always, as you mentioned, if you make someone smile, or if you made someone learn something new, or maybe save someone for a situation that they thought was already, done, you already made your day. So I think it's great. Thanks for sharing. It's amazing.
No, I appreciate it. I think you hit the nail on the head with it seems so important now. And I think that's a big motivating factor with the sort of podcast wave that's coming at the minute is conversation has slowly over the past probably 15 to 20 years disappeared from society. And it's so important to bring it back. There's people that I've had on, Rain McMay. He's a singer-songwriter, amazing singer-songwriter, love his music, but he is a self-professed communist. He likes, left-wing ideals. I'm more central-right than I am central-left, and it's fine. I don't agree with you. You don't agree with me, but we can agree on some things. Like, for instance, murdering is bad. We can both agree that is a bad thing, but then we can disagree or agree to disagree on the ways to run an economy. And that has disappeared so much from society, and that's when you get situations like what's happening in the States at the moment, and unfortunately it might start happening here. Maybe not with guns, but that's the issue at the minute. I see.
Lewis, are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through memories in life and share your point of views?
Bring it on.
Amazing. Welcome to William in the Magic Box. So I have here my best friend. Wonderful questions. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to play a song just for us to relax before the first question, okay?
Yep, that's fine.
Let's do it. Right, so before I start the interview, during the join, if it comes up a question that you don't want to talk about or you don't want to answer, always can change, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. First question is, what's the biggest difference between you and your partner?
Well, the first thing that came to mind is height, because she is small and I'm not that big for a man. But that was the first thing that came to mind. I'd say where I'm quite risk heavy. I like to take a risk. I think life is there for living and to seize the day. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever got in business and in life was that if you are set on something, if you are, for instance, this podcast, for instance, what you're doing, if you're set on it, burn your bridges. Go for it, but burn your bridges, because the beauty is when life gets hard, or when it gets hard to carry on, if you still got a bridge to go back, you will take that bridge. If there's no bridges there, then you have to knuckle down and fight on through. So that's very much my philosophy, whereas my partner is very much not risk. I wouldn't say risk averse, but borderline risk averse.
Tell me how your path crossed for the very first time, if you can share.
I can share. And it's, as all things, through internet dating nowadays.
Uh-huh.
And it was actually her friend that that decided that I might have been a good match for my partner. So it was her friend actually that decided I was the one to maybe go out on a date with. And from the first date, it just seemed easy. It was different to any relationship that I've had previously. It was, when I say easy, obviously most people think absolute nonsense. Relationships are hard. And yes, it is hard, but it's hard on the little things. The big things become easy when there's a moral dilemma or when there's a moral issue. We kind of both sit on the same side of the fence and we're both on the same page. Whereas in previous relationships, that's always been a difficult area of conversation or an area to navigate with somebody else. And generally what tended to happen as a man does, a man shuts up and goes quiet and goes insular, and that's the end of the end or the beginning of the end. Whereas with my current partner, that's not the case.
Beautiful. Okay, so she's watching this interview right now and have a moment, an opportunity to send her a message. What would you say? She's watching.
Thank you. That's what I'd say. I'd say thank you.
Oh, sweet. Next question. Let's do it. Hey, Lewis from England. Next question is, what's the most beautiful thing someone has ever said to you?
Wow. That's a big question. There is the obvious with my partner and with my daughter.
Oh, you have a daughter. Wow.
Yeah, I do. I have a 10-year-old daughter who's an absolute tour de force. And very much exactly the same as me when I was that age. So I'm getting payback. And, I get the obvious from her where, in fact, where is it? Bear with me one moment. Wow,
sure.
Here. So, this is the one. So, she might absolutely kill me for this. However, a New Year's activity that we do as a family is we write a letter to ourselves in 1 year's time.
Wow.
So you'd be surprised when you forget about it. And then you read it a year later and you think, oh, I've actually, one of the big things, I quit vaping over 12 months ago now. And I put that in my letter in January. And I actually inadvertently, I forgot about it, but I inadvertently quit in November that year. And then it came to reading the letter back to myself. I thought, oh, I managed to do it. I didn't even think about it. But this year I read her letter, and it for a 10-year-old, it smacks of more emotional maturity than a lot of adults that I know. And so it starts with, I'll leave a name out, but it starts with dear. So it's been 1 year. And if you're reading this, you're 11 years old. So happy birthday. Right now, I want you to know that things I love about me are my brown hair, my confidence, my cheek, my looks, my brown eyes, and my freckles. The things that make me happy: Dad, horses, dogs, Mum, Nick, Cole, family, Craig, Ringo, food, clothes/good clothes, and Gramps. This year, I hope you have gone on holiday, tried escargot, and got a new dog. Also, be a single lady and have no boyfriends. Something I really want to get better at is caring. And one thing I want to remember is family, both my mum's and my dad's side. There is there is a reason for everything. My wish for you is to be happy and now to have a good lie down. And I read that, and I think for parents sometimes, and it's difficult to know or have a barometer of where you're at and how you're doing as a parent. And I know from firsthand, quite often you feel like you're failing. You feel like you're not doing a good enough job. You feel like you've shouted too much. You feel like you're not present enough. You feel like you're tired all the time. And when little things like that happen, it fills me with pride, with joy. And yeah, the beauty of that letter will stay with me probably for the rest of my life. So yeah, that's probably one of the most beautiful things that I can recall offhand. She'll kill me for reading that out, but it's worth it.
Oh my God, I've got goosebumps, like literally, Lewis, you reading the letter, and I'll think to myself, I'm so glad that this question came up for you, because that's the magic of the show, when those questions come up and just brings the best of people. And my God, we learn a lot of children. I think, somebody told me once, if one day you feel sad or melancholic or not feeling great, sit down with a 5-6-year-old for half an hour, or with an 85-year-old elderly person for 20 minutes. Trust me, after that conversation, you're not going to feel sad anymore. You're going to learn something, and you're going to feel grateful about life, about everything. And that is a big example of it. I'm sure you could be feeling the worst of yourself. If you would read this letter, you would forget everything, and you would be the greatest. You know what I mean? So it's magical about children, how beautiful they are, and they mean it. That's the main thing. They're genuine, and they mean it. It comes from their hearts when they put in words. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
I think that childlike perspective is missing a lot from. That's one of the big. I've told this story previously on my podcast. Is when I was starting this podcast and I had guests booked in, and I had a bit of imposter syndrome, as I'm sure most people do when they get to this. These people have hundreds of thousands of followers, they're masters within their field, and I'm just a lad from the north of England that, who am I to speak to these people? Who am I to interview these people? And it was my daughter that I asked. I said, I wanted to recapture that nonchalant attitude of a child. Like, yeah, I'm going to climb that tree. I'll worry about getting to the top when I get to the top of it. And so I asked her, I said, like, this is what I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with the fact of who am I? Who am I to interview these people? And her response was, well, Keir Starmer's an idiot and he runs a country. And from that moment, I was like, yep, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I don't even know why I'm worried. I don't even know why I'm concerned.
Oh my God. Oh, that's incredible. Oh my Lord. I think again, they know what they're talking about.
100%.
Beautiful, love it. Thanks for sharing, by the way, Lewis. Thanks
No
for
worries. My pleasure.
3 questions left. Let's do it. Okay, so before the next question, as you know, since the beginning of the interview, I could see how much you enjoy your podcast, how much you appreciate, you embrace it. But what do you find most challenging about the journey so far?
Social media
Mm-hmm.
is a very difficult beast to navigate. It's very time consuming because of all the different channels. And sometimes, I mean, I got a message the other day from a listener that I'd not spoken to before, appreciating the podcast and naming episodes that they'd listen to and keep up the good work, and that really, really helps. But sometimes it can feel like you're screaming into the void quite often when there's no immediate feedback. And I do get feedback from a couple of friends that regularly listen, and that's beautiful, but they're biased. They're friends, they have to say nice things. although to be fair, both of them would probably say bad things if they needed to.
It's good.
Yeah,
they're true friends. True friends. They're true friends for sure.
But I think that sort of screaming into the void element is probably one of the most difficult things. Mm-hmm. And until you get them little raindrops of feedback, it becomes the motivation has to be intrinsic. It has to come from within rather than from without. It's easy to carry on when people are on the sidelines cheering you on. It's very difficult to carry on when it has to come from within.
I see. Okay. Next question for you is, what's something not many people know about you?
What's something? Why? I love a musical.
Okay.
Les Mis is one of my all-time favorites. I am not ashamed to. In fact, I love a good cry at a movie as well. I love a good cry at a movie. It happened, was it yesterday? Yesterday or the day before, I watched the new movie I Swear, which is about
I loved it. Yes, powerful.
Now, spoiler alert, so if anybody wants to watch it, don't switch off for 20 seconds. But there's a moment where he walks into the library at the end.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
And when he sat with the scientist that's developed this thing at the end, and he says, I haven't felt this way since I was 14 years old.
My God.
Like, I'm gone at that moment. That's it. Blubbing. It's tears of happiness. It's not sadness, but it's understanding. It's the high level of empathy to understand that that's one person's real life story, but there's millions of people with this affliction that have probably never had that relief and never had that. And I feel that all in one. And it's the same with other movies, Les Mis is one. You understand, when you understand the mechanics behind it. I mean, I love the songs. The songs are amazing. Like, a good song can always make me cry anyway. But when it, the French Revolution era and the amount of people that were in, we think that we have poverty now, and that the poverty then makes this look like, living the life of Riley. And you see what a mother has to go through when Fantine has to sell her teeth and sell her hair just because she wants to do it for her daughter. I think a lot of people would be surprised with this sort of bald head and beard and tattoos, and that, a good movie can make me cry like a baby.
Wow. Saying that, what's the biggest joy of being you? What do you like the most about being Lewis?
I think it's a multitude of things. However, that's only come about over the last 8 years.
Mhm.
And it's been a journey of breaking down who I am or who I thought I was
Mhm.
to nothing, and being able to discard parts that I don't like and discard parts that are undesirable and rebuild back the parts that I value. So I think over the past 8 years, I've managed to build somebody that I can comfortably look in the mirror and enjoy spending time with, if that makes sense. And I
It does.
think I've discussed this previously, is that one of the most important and undervalued relationships that you can have in life is with yourself.
Wow.
It's so important to cultivate such a healthy, positive relationship with you and with yourself,
Absolutely.
because at the end of the day, regardless of how open and honest you are, there's only ever one person that truly knows you, and that is you.
100%. 100%. I think it's you need to enjoy yourself the most you can. Battles your negativity or enjoy your positivity. We all have those, and understand yourself and be kind to yourself. And as you know, as you mentioned, have a good relationship with yourself because it's the way to be. We cannot avoid yourself.
No, well, you can, but it doesn't lead to a very nice
Yeah,
place.
for sure. Amazing. Two questions left. Let's do it. Okay, next question is, if you could make up a new school subject, what that would be?
I tell you what, I thought there's a couple here, so I'm going to cheat and I'm going to give a couple. I'd bring a couple back. So I think home technology, which is cooking, and things like that. I think that's sorely missed in a lot of schools nowadays. Is, you know, people talk about this obesity epidemic, and people aren't eating well, and cancers being caused by this food. And I mean, it was just released this week, I think, with bacon. Bacon's now down as a level 1 carcinogenic, which is great
Wow.
because I love bacon. Um, but this education of learning how to cook and learning how to, I teach my daughter quite regularly on, right, this is how you make things, this is how you do stuff. I do all the cooking in my house. That is sorely missing. So I would bring that back. A new lesson, and this is probably quite controversial based on what's currently going on within the school system, where there's a big hoo-ha about phones, and there's a big hoo-ha about phones in the classroom. Whoever these people are within government, within these systems that are trying to subdue the phone and get rid of it, they're fighting a losing battle before they start. These things aren't going away. It's never going away. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. Don't think that you can. Kids are clever. They'll find a way.
Yes.
So, and especially when you've got these interactive whiteboards now, and these tablets in schools and stuff, it's almost a false economy. But one of the big things that I think is so important, there's a lot of people that are worried about AI. They're worried about the use of AI. I know there's been a big thing at the minute with Grok and creating images and
Yep.
people. We won't get too morbid in that, but everybody that's been up on the situation knows what the problem is. But no child is being taught how to properly use AI and in what respect. And I use it daily. I think it's such a good tool to use properly. And I have friends that use it, but will then ask me that I'm trying to do this, this, and this. Why won't it work? And I'm like, well, you're not being specific enough with your prompt. And there's a good scene in the movie Aladdin with Will Smith where Aladdin says to Genie, "Make me a prince," and he's like, "Whoa, that's very ambiguous. I could just make you a prince, and fashions up a prince, or like I could." And it's that sort of specificity and clarity is king. So with AI, I think a lesson within school would be beneficial to the human race in future. So yeah, that's one lesson I'd bring back, and one lesson that I would instill in schools. So home ed and AI.
Tell me, who was your favorite teacher growing up?
Ooh. A gentleman called Pat McKiernan. He was the deputy head of the secondary school, and with a name like McKiernan, and I think he was a good 6'3". He was big. He had the affectionate nickname of Big Mac.
Wow.
And the way he is or was as a person, has stayed with me throughout my life. He was very, very, very firm. You wouldn't cross him, but very, very fair. And always willing to stop, talk, speak to you, work through a problem rather than go straight to corporal punishment or anything along those lines. He was a very, very, top teacher. Brilliant, brilliant guy.
And did you like school growing up, Lewis?
I didn't. No, school wasn't my thing. It's actually, I've got a full chapter in my book about this, of the whole ADHD culture that's going around at the moment, and every man and his dog seems to have ADHD, and I want to maybe flip it on its head and think, well, is it not the child or not the teenager that's actually got the issue, but is it the environment that they're in that's causing this behavior? Because I know a lot of people that deal with problem children. My dad was a college lecturer, and he did brickwork, and a lot of the quote unquote bad kids that got sent to do practical things were some of the best that he'd ever taught.
Wow.
Different environment. It's not a classroom. It's not sat down doing comprehension, writing in a book, and being told what to say and reciting for tests and times tables. But a lot of the bad kids that struggle maybe with attention in school, you take them out into the wilderness and into nature, and I guarantee they'll probably be number one on the team sheet in terms of their behavior and their ability. So maybe, and that's not to say that ADHD doesn't exist. It's not to say that it isn't a thing. However, I think we're very, very quick to chuck a label on something, when I know from my own personal experience, I'd go through classes in a week and not learn a thing because I'm not paying attention. I'm either at the back doodling in my pad, or away with the fairies, or listening to something on my Walkman at the time. So I think, that school wasn't something to enjoy. School was something to get through for me.
All right. Last question. Ready?
I'm ready. Fire away.
Last one. You like dancing?
It depends. I mean, I used to like dancing when I used to drink alcohol, but I haven't drank alcohol for 5.5 years now. So
before the last question, of course, you had so many interviews, you connect with so many people. I'm sure you have some, those oops moments. Maybe tell me something funny that happened to one of your interviews, one of your, could be anything that for you went maybe funny, maybe something that you're not expecting that, stands out since you started doing the podcast.
I think I've enjoyed every single one of my podcasts. And the guests are so varied and so different. And I've always prided myself. I'm a very personable man. I like to get on with people if I can. There's very few people that I don't really get on with. But there is one episode that stands out to me where I was nervous as hell and sweating bullets. And that was it episode 2? I think it was episode 2. Let me just double check that so I don't misquote, because it was with my life coach.
Wow.
And my life coach of 5 years, Kathleen, and she, bear with me. Yeah, it was episode 2. And she knows every deep, dark, sordid secret that I don't want to see the light of day. Or maybe I'm not that. I mean, there's nothing dangerous in there. But it was different to every other interview that I've conducted, because it's like, this lady knows so much about me as a person that at any point she could destroy me if she wanted to. She is an amazing person, and I know for a fact, there's very few people that come into your life that you can attribute real credit to, and she's definitely one. I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't be who I am today without her help and guidance. So thank you, Kathleen.
Wow. Amazing. Last question for you is, I think this one's going to be very easy for you to answer.
Okay.
If you could spend an entire day with a family member, who that would be and why?
Ooh. Could I bring one back from the dead?
Absolutely, you can.
Well, it would be my nana, who is my mum's mother.
Okay.
And growing up, she pretty much brought me up. My mum and dad were working full time, so my mum and my dad would often leave before I had to go to school. So it would be my nana that woke me up, fed me breakfast, took me to school, picked me up from school, fed me my tea, and then she used to then go home and make tea for her and my granddad, and she'd do that every single day.
Wow.
She was a very well-to-do woman, very well-spoken. If she heard me swear like I do on some of my podcasts, I would not hear the end of it. No elbows on the table at dinner.
Wow.
It was, proper silver service. She taught me, proper dinner etiquette.
I love that. Wow.
And just a very non-judgmental, lovely, warm lady. And when she died of leukemia quite suddenly, really, within the space of 12 months. Wow. And the difficulty, I've spoken about this on the podcast, and I've got a friend, Nico, who's a hypnotherapist. He's coming on, and I've spoke to him quite a lot. He's a brilliant guy. All about grief. And I buried that grief. I didn't deal with it. Not that I didn't deal with it, I couldn't deal with it at the time. I wasn't ready to deal with anything to do with it. I buried it deep, and that's where it stayed for at least a decade.
Wow.
And when you do something like that, you don't realize how much it has an effect on your base level mood, your likes, your dislikes, your wants, your needs. And then it took me a long time to come to terms with her death, and understand that my relationship with grief changed. Grief isn't something to get through. It isn't something to deal with. It isn't something to sort of ignore, or it's not a bad thing. It's got such a negative connotation. And there's a really good quote by Andrew Garfield, and I might not remember it quote for quote, but grief is the sum amount of all the expressions of love that we never got to express
Wow.
for this person. So that's what grief is. It's this outpouring of love that we never got to show them when they were here. And I still, every now and again of a morning, I still speak to her. Now I still have that conversation, and I can hear her voice and that sort of guidance. And it's like every time I use a profanity, I can see the sort of, the sort of, it's not judgmental, it's more disappointment, which is even worse.
Even worse, yeah. Even worse.
Yeah. But I miss her dearly. And the fact that she never got to meet my daughter is something that upsets me, because I when she passed away, I was going through a transitional period in my life, and I wasn't who I am. And don't get me wrong, I'm by no means perfect, but I'd like her to be able to see my daughter and me now and know that we're okay. So yeah, that's one person that I would love to.
Oh my God. I think our connection, I'll tell you something. Our connection with our grandparents is just different, unique. We love our loved ones. You've got a daughter, of course, you've got a partner, you've got parents, and our people around us, we love them. But our connection with our grandparents, it's something different that is you cannot even explain. You know what I mean?
No, it is.
And I'm sure whatever she's right now, she's smiling. So, you know what I mean? Just to know that. And, you say that, that, of course, in person, she didn't meet your daughter. But, trust me, she's maybe make her face like you said, like you did before sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
However, you know what I mean? She always going to be there. You know what I mean? Could be in your heart, in your memories, in her presence, whenever you believe, there is always something there. I think the connection, it never, you know what I mean? It's always there.
100%. That's the thing, with grief is you can't ever get over it, because the lessons and the connection that you had when they were here with you in the physical plane, that will continue until the day.
Totally.
Even now, when I have dinner at a table at a restaurant, I will put my elbows on the table, but I know for a fact that she is disappointed that I'm putting my elbows on the table. So, that little picadillo, that little lesson, that is, that's still her here with me. So yeah, 100%.
Right, it's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to say some words. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking. Okay. Let's start with money.
False.
Fear.
Power.
Family.
Home.
Life.
Living.
Love.
Joy.
Religion.
Complicated.
Sex.
Overrated.
Politics.
Laughable.
I like that. I think nobody's ever said that for politics. I love it. Friendship.
Valuable.
Desire.
Needed.
Regret.
Worry.
Success.
Vary.
Wish.
Hopes.
Happiness.
Goal.
One word for England.
Confused.
And the last one now. Cut the podcast. One word. If you could define your podcast in one word, what that would be?
Authentic.
Amazing. Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your partner for a coffee, and I'm going to ask your partner, define Lewis in one positive and one negative word only. What should say about you?
Perfectly chaos.
I love it. Let's play now, Lewis and the Magic Box, and you can ask me a question. Okay, but before you ask me the question, people watch this interview, or when they watch your podcast, when they see there are different people talk about different topics, but what's the whole message that behind that would you like people to take with them when they come to watch your show?
There's a quote. I don't actually know who it came from, or whether it actually came from myself, which sounds rather magnanimous. But it kind of underpins the whole ethos of the show and what it's about. And it starts as this: when society starts to fail, when people start to argue about what is good and what is bad, rather than what is true and what is false. And I think society, as it stands at the minute, there's a hell of a lot of arguing from everywhere going on about what is good and what is bad, and not focusing on what is true and what is false. So yeah, that's I can't remember. I think it might have been Orwell. It might have been. I'm not certain. But yeah, one of my idols. But I think that underpins the whole message is let's stop arguing over good and bad, and let's start arguing over what's true and what's false.
Amazing. Okay, you can ask me a question now.
So, question. I thought about this long and hard this week, because you want to. I think the whole point of a question is to expose a part of somebody that they wouldn't necessarily offer freely.
Okay.
So if you stripped away success, identity, labels, and any expectation whatsoever, who are you when nobody's watching?
Oh my God.
And how close are you? How close is that person to the life that you're currently living?
Wow, what's a very interesting question. Love it. You put me in the spot. I was expecting that, and I love it. Nobody ever asked me this question before. Wow, Lewis, amazing. Okay, so the first part of the question, straight away, I think when nobody's around me, or when I'm very, it's so interesting because when I talk to people around me, even close friends, when I say that I'm a very shy person, people go like, Coelho, I'd love to be shy like you, and actually, it's just because I'm very easy to talk, I'm very easy to, to express myself when I get connected with the person, I can be very expressive, but however, oh my God, it's a reflection of being shy. It's like a protection for me when I start talking and, getting there. But when nobody's around me, when I'm alone, like literally, I'm such a very simple person, literally, Luis. I know it can sound cliche, but I'm so simple with everything. For me, I don't know, simplicity for me, it's a big thing for me. I love, gets my attention when I see simplicity. As soon as I turn off the camera here, I'm just like, nobody's around me. I love my own company. I love being on my own, when I was younger, I found that's very contradictory because, my friends are like, oh, let's do something, blah, blah. And I love social places. I love being around people, but I love my own company. I love to enjoy myself. I love to be on my own words. I think because the fact that I left Brazil, I was 19-year-old on my own, all the way to Europe. And I think I learned to be with myself. I had no other choice at the time, so I think I learned so much be on my own and with myself that nowadays, I'm my best friend. I love to be on my own. So as soon as nobody's around me, I'm just literally a person who is, how can I put that? In a very simple way of approaching life or living. Simplicity for me. People who knows me very well, they know how I just love that. I just love simplicity. Sometimes I watch myself sometimes because I need to watch, I need to be more, but literally for me, just a quiet person.
Mm.
I love being around people. I love sociable space. I love that. It brings me the best. However, when the true William, like the true self William, and when I'm alone, because I'm literally like, very random person. I love your question. Made me think now. I just love being, enjoying my own company. I love to be, talking to myself. I love to be exploring my thoughts. I love to be, and sometimes I keep thinking, my God, there are some people like that as well. Sometimes I'm wondering because I literally,
100%.
yeah,
I am very, very similar. Like that, what I mentioned earlier about developing that relationship with yourself. I play hockey on Wednesdays, and I finish at 9 p.m. So my house is about 30 minutes away from where I play hockey. And quite often I will drive home in complete silence. I won't put the radio on. I won't put an audiobook on.
right,
And that 30 minutes of just me and my thoughts, and might talk to myself or whatever.
yeah.
It's so precious. Is that 30 minutes of there's no interruption. Nobody can collar me because I'm in the car on my own, unless they want to jump through the window at 70 miles an hour on the motorway. Nobody's getting in. So, and I think some people struggle. I feel blessed to be able to do that. Like, when you're mentioning, you're conscious of other people thinking, do other people do this? Are other people happy being on their own? I think other people struggle.
Mm.
And I feel almost privileged to have such a good relationship with myself that I can all day, I could sit in silence all day and have a good day, not have a bad day.
Anyway, the second part of the question, what was the second part of the question?
So the second part of the question is how close is that person to the life that you're actually living? So if you mentioned that you like, you like the time on your own.
Yeah.
And I'm very similar. And
Yeah.
it is difficult for other people to marry the fact that I am almost extrovert when I'm on my podcast and I speak to these people and I build up rapport like me and you have very, very quickly. But how can somebody that likes being on their own do that? They shouldn't go together.
I know.
However, for some reason, and maybe people like myself are the only people that'll understand. How close is that private William, the William that you mentioned? How close is that person to the life that you're currently living? Is it maybe in a percentage? Are you that person 70% of the time?
I see. I got it. I understand. Right. Great question. Actually, great question. I would say 50%. You know why? Because at the same time that I love spending time on my own, but I manage very well because at the same time as well, because of work, because of things around me, I'm always around people as well. So I think 50-50. So I think I appreciate, but I think, the time I'm on my own, and I think I spend more time with others than on my own, to be honest. So I think I would say 50% because somehow I balance very well. You know what I mean? Regarding that, I think the time when I enjoy the most of being on my own, for example, when I go to the cinema, when I'm, doing the podcast, I'm here on my own, of course.
Yeah.
So I think, somehow I managed to have a great time with myself on my own, but at the same time as well, the other part of my life that's not just because I don't, but it's part of, I need to be with others, which is amazing as well. So I would say 50. I don't know if I answered right what thing, but I would say 50%.
Can I also indulge in it's a little social experiment that I've been carrying out for the past probably 15 years. So my partner's family are from Italy, from Milan.
Okay.
And I've asked, her grandma is 96.
What a blessing.
Unbelievable. And she's an amazing lady, but she's been over in this country for so many years. I've got a friend from Iran. And I always ask people that have come from different countries, i.e. you from Brazil at 19. So have you been over here longer than you have in Brazil?
Yeah, I lived in Portugal for 5 years, but I've been most of my life in England. Yeah.
So this is just out of selfish interest.
Yeah.
What language do you think in?
Great question. Great question.
It's always fascinated me.
Yeah, great question. It's funny because when I'm talking English like with you now, automatically I'm thinking English, like automatically is. However, it all depends. It all depends. For example, I think more in English than Portuguese because 99% of I think every day I speak English, on my thing. But
Yeah.
if for example I'm playing a Brazilian music now here, you know what I mean? Because it's one of my so when I see things in Portuguese, for example, the words and everything, somehow I get connected with the Portuguese automatically.
Wow.
But if I'm not reading Portuguese, if I cannot see anything in Portuguese, automatically I'm thinking in English.
Right.
Yeah, it's quite common. And actually, fun fact, somebody told me once that when you start dreaming, like let's say in a foreign language, like in English, in my case, because not my first language, is because you are learning very well. So sometimes when I'm dreaming and I remember next day that I was dreaming in English, I was like, yes, I've learned more and more English.
You're a native.
I mean?
Yeah,
so I'm native. So
it's always fascinated me. It's always really intrigued me as to at what point does that change? Like it's so. I mean, the human brain is such a phenomenal thing. Like, but to be able to go from, like you say, you're 19 years old when you left, and everything's Portuguese, everything up to that point, your day-to-day life, your thoughts, all your teenage years, his thoughts, is all Portuguese. And then when does it sort of twist and change? And it was just, obviously it's going to be a gradual thing, but there must be a moment where the scales tip.
Did you enjoy the interview?
I did. Thank you very much, William. I had a really good time and really thoughtful questions. And yeah, it's made me reflect on things that I haven't reflected on for quite some time.
Thanks again. Thanks for taking the time. As you know, nowadays we are so busy with our own lives. And when someone take their time for us, it's precious. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you to be ready for the interview. I appreciate for you as well to be so open about your answers and talk about the letter about your daughter. It's amazing. That was the highlight for me of the interview, this letter that you read it in connection with your grandmother as well. So I appreciate you to take the time for the interview.
You're more than welcome.
Before you go, if you can share a positive message or anything that you live by.
Well, I'm going to read a quote by one of my heroes. It's a gentleman called Alan Watts. And if anybody knows who Alan Watts is, he is the father of mindfulness. He really helped me through a lot of bad times. And this is how it goes. The meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet, everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves.
Amazing. Let's live life.
Easy peasy. Simple.
Amazing.
Life is for living.
For sure. Every day. And the present as well. That's very important. Take care, okay? Regards to your family and friends, and keep in touch, okay? It was a pleasure having you on the show.
I will do. Thank you very much, William. You have a good evening, and lovely to speak with you.
Have a good night. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why you'd like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye, see you next time.